So let's go ahead and dive into some of the numbers here. So like we said, this is going to be a two-part thing. Today, fundamentally, is taking a look at the big scope of current Texas high school football coaches that have a tendency to win football games. Next week, we'll dive a little bit deeper into a debate on, all right, what parts of these categories do you consider most important?
Yes.
And what do you think has the term, we throw around the term GOAT a lot, but there's quite a lot of guys on this list that could absolutely be deemed that. But it really, I guess that's what's so fun about a GOAT argument is what do you put your stock into? Is it career wins? Is it how fast you get to those career wins? Is it
the
playoff?
percentage? Right.
Is it playoff runs? Because there's a lot of coaches that have really, really, really good win totals that just don't produce as much in the playoffs.
Right.
And then there's coaches like Scott Surratt who, a sneak peek, over 12% of his playoff wins are state championships. Like,
That's a... Oh my God,
insane.
That's wild. That's just
absolutely
crazy.
insane. He's 71-7 in playoff games. He has 9-0 in state championship games. So out of those 78 total playoff games he's played, he's only lost 7 of them, and 12% of them are championship wins.
That's wild to me.
Crazy. So you debate what stock you put into.
Right. I was going to ask you before, how did you think of this topic? Because you kind of just told me yesterday that this is what we were going to do, and I was like, that's really interesting. How did you think
my
of
brain
this?
is broken, and this is how
Fair.
my brain works. No, I was looking through some history records for a couple of other things, and I got to looking, and I was like, man, this is really interesting just to see what level of success that you measure in that type of way. And so I was like, what if we just literally give everyone all of the information they could need? We'll express our opinions, but then you have all the information you need to decide who you think the GOAT is.
Right.
So,
I
yeah.
like that. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
Our
I got
brains
like
work-
way in the weeds of numbers, and I was like, I can do so many numbers with this.
Yeah, I feel like our brains work in a very similar way. Because that's what I did
Yes.
with the Caitlin Clark tweet with Iowa football. I was like, I just like to think of numbers sometimes.
Yeah.
And put them together and see what comes up of it.
Yeah, there's so many different like statistical categories that you can put
It's
here
crazy.
that it's like, okay, but what do you put more stock into? So
Right, yeah.
here is basically the numbers that we're looking at. So we have, oh, goodness gracious. You know what? Throw the graphic up and like filibuster for a second. I need to go get my notebook because I have a lot of other stuff written down in my notebook.
In your
2
notebook.
seconds. I'm running in the office.
All right. We're going to start off with the most wins. Now, this is just the basic number of the most career wins, obviously, in a career. And I'll go ahead and throw the graphic up. And boom! As you can see, Ashley already mentioned this, but Randy Allen takes the cake at number 1 with 435 wins.
Yeah, here we go.
That's a lot of wins.
That is a ton of wins. So the reason I needed to get my notebook is because I kind of want to be able to run through and tell people this is current Texas high school football coaches. So as we mentioned, Phil Danaher is in first place all time, the most
Yes.
winningest high school coach in Texas high school football history. Randy Allen actually comes in at second. So he stands alone at second behind Phil Danaher. Obviously, Randy Allen's still coaching. You wonder if he's chasing that goal.
Exactly.
He's
Yes,
also
current. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, he's also the only current head coach that has reached that 400 win plateau. So that was huge. Coming in their second and the current coaches is Coach Denny Faith of the Albany Lions, obviously finally getting that coveted Texas high school football championship year. So out of those 344, I think you can pick the one game that will forever be ingrained into his mind. He comes in at 5th on the all-time
Nice.
record. Coming in at 3rd in current is Coach Reginald Samples. They're at Duncanville
Kind
again.
of in the same situation there
Yep.
as Denny Faith. Yeah.
Getting that long time win. 325 of those wins are very important to him, but that 326th
Always will go down in
will
history.
be the one.
Yep.
Well, heck, he could get another one this upcoming year, but that's for a different time. He's at 8th on the all-time list. In 4th is Larry Hill. They're at Smithson Valley with 297. He is 15th on the all-time list. Then at number 5, Jason Herring from Refugio, coming in with 281 wins in his career. He is tied 20th with Tim Buchanan, who Tim Buchanan would have been heavily featured on all of these graphics, but he just retired from Alito. So it was really, really weird for me to not go, oh yeah, Tim Buchanan, type. And then I was like, no typing. He's not current. That one was the one that was like really weird for me. But I do think it's very interesting that Jason Herring and Tim Buchanan both, as of right now, had 281 wins in their career, because those are two, legendary coaches, and the fact that they're on the exact same scale is like, oh wow,
right?
That's crazy. Then coming in at number 6, we have Jimmy Thompson. He's at 259. He is 30th on the all-time list. Then in 7th, we have Mark Kirchhoff, which is at 258. He is 31st on the all-time list. And then number 8, a man that needs no introduction from the Katy Tigers. It is legendary head coach Gary Joseph, currently at 255 and 34th on the list. So you can see, obviously, those first ones really, really stand out, and then everyone else is within 40 of each other. So tons of movement to be made, especially in those bottom 3. So those are the current head coaches with the most wins in their career. Moving on now to the most playoff wins, which I know we talked a lot earlier about, and we'll get to it next week, about what you put a lot of stock into. As much as winning 400 games is crazy, or 435 games, winning 83 playoffs games is unreal. Insane. The maximum number of playoff games you can win every year is 6. The maximum. And that would be winning a state championship. So if you want to start really talking about consistency in the playoffs, getting 4 or 5 wins every single year is insane. You're making it to the regional finals or the state semifinals every single year, basically.
And that's when you match up with the best teams.
Exactly.
Too, which is crazy.
Yeah, so I think we'll really start debating this next week, but a little look into my train of thought is 83 wins for Randy Allen in playoff wins is insane. He is second on the list in playoff wins too. Then here's something that's another comparison. You saw Gary Joseph being the 8th most current Texas high school football coach with the most wins, yet he is second when it comes to playoff wins. You want to start talk about getting good at the right time?
Yes.
That's what Gary Joseph and the Katy Tigers are at, with 79 playoff wins. He is 4th on the all-time playoff win list. 3, we talked about him on the last list. Coach Jason Herring, out of those 281 wins that he has all time, 75 of those are playoff wins there with Refugio. That's 5th on the all-time list. Then this is where it gets interesting. A name that we did not see on the other list. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. He has only been a head coach for 16 years, all of which have been at Carthage, but he has only played 16 seasons and has 71 playoff wins.
That's
71.
Wild. Yeah, that is
16 seasons.
That's mind-blowing.
Unbelievable.
To get to that point every single year and to be that consistent every single year.
He's 6th on the all-time playoff wins. Record list.
He's
6th.
Just a genius.
6th on the all-time playoff win list. And he's been coaching for 16 years.
And you would think a team that good would get kind of boring to watch, just being that consistent.
I could watch him play all day.
But the scheming is just incredible. I mean, it's
4D chess.
It's such a mind game. It is. And he's an incredible coach. I mean, that's unreal.
Crazy. Then we have coming in 5th in the current is Reginald Samples with 64. That is 10th on the all-time list. Coach Denny Faith, coming in at 6th of the Albany Lions. He has 62 playoff wins to his name. That's 11th. Coming up in the 12th spot, Todd Rogers from Argyle with 58 playoff wins. And then how about that stand-up 3A? Jake Fizel from Gunner is tied at 15th with 51 wins on the all-time list for playoffs. So, yeah. Holy Scott Surratt.
That's what I take away from that list.
Well, allow me to continue to have that thought here, because would you look at that? Most state titles by a coach, 9. Scott Surratt is 9-0 in state championship games. He has coached 16 years as a head coach, and has 9 state championships.
He's won more than he has lost in these. Yeah, and like, I'm trying to figure out how to put. Yes, so like over half of his tenure at Carthage, he has won a state championship.
Yes.
Which is, I don't know what other adjective I can then to say is
insane,
than unreal or crazy or insane. I mean, it just really is.
It's mind-boggling.
It is.
I mean,
it's crazy to think about.
We said that earlier, but 71. His record in the playoffs is 71-7. 9 of those wins are state titles, which means it's right about 12.68% of his playoff games that he's played in his 16 years were state titles that he has won and never lost an AT&T Stadium for a title game. That's just stupid.
There's a reason why he was on
Lord of the Rings.
Correct. The Gatefold Cut. Yeah,
and that's
right,
before
exactly.
he even had another ring.
I know. I know. It's insane. Gotta Photoshop one in there.
Yeah, and another thing is now moving on to number 2, Gary Joseph at Katy. We mentioned he was second on the list of most playoff wins as a current head coach at 79. 5 of those wins are state titles. Mm-hmm. He's 6th all-time on the most state championship list. Then a name that we've seen every single time we've looked at a list of most wins, Randy Allen coming in with 4. He ties Jason Herring and Tom Westerberg, who is now at Salado. Westerberg is one of the most well-respected coaches around and has been for a long time. And then there is a conglomerate of guys that have 3 state title wins, including Hank Carter at Lake Travis, Jake Fazell at Gunner, Sam Harrell at Ennis, Kevin Hoffman at Mart, Jeff Kowalski, Chris Ketting, and Rick Rhodes all coming in with 3 wins. After that, then there's the rest of the lot who is in that still very coveted,
right.
thing to even
the list
have
would just
one.
Be very long,
yes,
right? If we obviously named all
so
of
those
them,
are the guys that really stand across the top in the all-time state championships. A lot of guys have 2. A lot of guys have 1. I say a lot. That's a pristine community to be a part of. Like that's really
only yes.
That's it. You're lucky to even be a part of a state title game as a player, as an assistant coach, as a water boy, as of anything. To have 9 of them is
right.
Unbelievable.
To play in 9 and to win 9.
To win 9 is just
to be 100% at that level.
Insane. I mean, just absolutely insane. But
crazy.
To have 3 is also insane. Like you
yeah.
stop and think about that. What are the odds? And a lot of those guys did them at the same school, but there's some people that have won at multiple schools.
Different schools,
and
right.
It's like that's like you start thinking of. I should have added. You know what? One that so I used Texas high school football history, and I don't think that they factor in 6-man. So I do.
Okay.
This is just UIL 11-man because I know for a fact that longtime head coach Vance Jones is on that list because he's won 3 he's won 3 titles, all 3 of them at different schools. He was the first one to do 3 titles at 3 different schools.
Okay.
So again, this is just 11-man. We're not counting 6-man right now. But I mean, just miraculous. That's
still crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. We just wanted to set you up with the information of here's what we're looking at. Here are some records that you can look at and you can start to make your own opinion on who you think the GOAT is. Next week, we are going to look at the efficiency that those guys really got to that point. How many years they've been coaching, how fast do you get to 100 wins, how fast do you get to 200 wins, and kind of take it from there. And then we'll have a debate. We'll have a fun little debate about who we think is the best and why we think they're the best. And
what do you put stonks into?
Stonks.
We can run our little stonk.
Hell, you can't go wrong putting stonks in any of those coaches. The numbers speak for themselves.
You know what would be interesting too, just thinking out
producing
loud
on the fly. That's what we do.
Yeah, correct. Is finding out which coach has won the most at a single school. You know what I mean? Like has the most wins. We can even do this category. Has won the most in the playoffs, regular season, overall state titles at one singular school, and then different. Yeah, schools.
Danny Faith's definitely going to be up there because all 36 years has been at Albany.
Yeah,
so he might be the leader in the clubhouse there. But yeah, no, it is very interesting to see. So there we go, taking a look at diving into Texas high school football coaches, the best of the best. We will continue that next week.